we learned DNA evidence collected 3 months after the 2007 sex assault case revealed Calhoun was innocent then, but that evidence was withheld from Calhoun's attorneys. It resurfaced more than a decade later.
There's an epidemic in America's criminal justice system. The prosecution and conviction of innocent people for crimes they did not commit. Welcome to the American Justice Podcast. Your hosts, Scott Pogensee and C. Derick Miller, come together to bring you the inside scoop on all of the wrongful conviction stories, both new and old. It's not only about the innocent who have been imprisoned, but also the victims of crimes as well. No one deserves justice more than them. And now, here are your hosts, Scott Pogensee and C. Derick Miller.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the American Justice Podcast.
Where we talk shit.
And we talk crime, but we never talk shitty crime.
crime.
Mr. C. Derick Miller, how are you today?
Oh, man. Recovering. Yes. Just finished up the first annual Texas Author Con here in good old Dallas, Texas. It was a total success. It was a steady stream of people all day long. And we're already planning next year's event. So
2023.
Yeah, bigger, better, wetter. I don't know.
Longer.
Longer.
I think you said longer on Facebook. For those of you that don't follow C. Derick Miller on Facebook, you should, and because it's always very interesting content.
Yeah, actually, I prefer to be followed on Twitter.
Twitter.
I'm really trying to. Yes, you can follow me on Twitter at Howl Growl Snarl. I'm really trying to disassociate myself with Facebook because it is seems to be filled with a lot of people who I have nothing in common with.
Well, plus we know of your admiration for Mark Zuckerberg.
Oh yeah. Winner, chicken dinner. He is
right. Well, that is they can. Follow us on Facebook, the American Justice Podcast. Yeah.
And you can still follow me on Facebook if you like. I mostly push my my books, and if I take any photographs and I upload them to Instagram, they automatically post to Facebook. So
right,
feel free. But if you want the juicy stuff, if you want the good stuff, follow me on Twitter or even the Slasher app. There's a lot of people who don't know anything about the Slasher app. The Slasher app is it's a social media platform for horror fans.
Oh,
and then that is it. There's no politics. There's none of that. It is all pretty much horror related content. So if you love horror movies or you love horror books or just that horror lifestyle, then check out Slasher. Everybody that's on that app is just very pleasant. It's unusual for social media.
That is crazy.
So, yeah.
They all love horror, though.
Yeah, we all have one thing in common, and that's pretty much what we talk about. We don't slip up into politics or whatever else it is that everybody argues about on Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff. So, it's actually nice. You can find me on the Slasher app at Howl Growl Snarl as well. I've pretty much cornered the market on that one.
So if you like to howl or growl or snarl, you can find C. Derick Miller on any social media app, apparently, at that.
You know where that came from? Do you know where the Howl Growl Snarl thing came from?
I'm assuming from your first book?
It was from my first fiction novel.
Yeah,
it was from A Taste of Home.
Yeah.
Chapter 13, all it says is howl, growl, snarl. That's it. That's all it says. Because when I was writing my very first novel, which was titled A Ghost Hunter's Journal, way back in 2007. I was in an elevator at the Omni Mandalay Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed they didn't have a button number 13 in the elevator.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, oh, wow, that's still a thing. That's still a thing that they do. There's no 13th floor, except when I was in the Army hospital on Fort Gordon. It was rumored that there was a 13th floor, but the only way you could access it was with a special key, and that was the psych ward. It was hidden away from the public. But I noticed they didn't have a 13th floor, and I had yet to publish my first novel back then. And I'm like, wouldn't it be kind of gimmicky if I just never wrote a 13th chapter. Just
that is
because
interesting.
writing a 13th chapter is bad luck.
Right.
So I went with that, and I'm still doing that today.
That's interesting.
Yeah, when I start to write a novel now, first thing I do is make a file for the 13th chapter and just write something off the wall that has absolutely nothing to do with the story, and do that. So yes, so I wrote Howl, Growl, Snarl, and also that was my very first tattoo. It just says Howl, Growl, Snarl, and nobody really knows what it means because nobody reads my shit to begin with.
Oh, I think there's a lot of people out there that read your shit.
Yeah, there's a lot more than I thought that read my shit. I was really surprised at the number of people who came by my booth last weekend who were there to get the Taste of Home sequel, Far From Home, because they had already read the first one. And I just, every time someone said that, I'm like, what?
You read my
you
stuff?
You actually read my stuff?
That's awesome.
Fished in. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like, when whenever I'm out in public and somebody, oh wait, you did the that podcast, the American Justice Podcast, and I'm like, it kind of sets me back. Like, yeah, how did you know? That's crazy.
How did you know that?
You mean people actually listen to us?
Right. It was really bad when I was living in my hometown of Greenville, Texas. Cue the banjos.
Dun, 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 dun.
There was a time, especially when I was really deep into the paranormal, there was a time when I couldn't even go to Walmart to go grocery shopping or go out to dinner without somebody just coming over to the table and talking because they'd seen like photograph in the paper or they followed me on
some kind of write-up.
MySpace.
Yeah.
Asked me what I thought about my parents.
Right. Flashback to season 1.
Yes, flashback. Deep dives.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that because we have a special announcement to make today.
We do have a special announcement to make today,
and we will be talking about this in later episodes. But today it is known and it is scheduled, and so the American Justice Podcast Season 3 will be coming to an end on the 23rd of September. And we have decided that we will take the month of October off.
Yes, it's necessary.
However, but we'll start the season 4 in the first week of November.
Yes.
But in October, we are going to be releasing a very special episode that so far you and your wife and your mother and me and everybody will be joining, and we will be at
Hill House Manor in Gainesville, Texas.
Yes.
Actually, one of those haunted locations that's nearby us that has been featured on several of the paranormal TV shows. And I'm going to blow the dust off of all my old paranormal investigation gear from Paranormal Research and Investigations of North Texas, otherwise known as Print. That was mine, baby. It looked good on a T-shirt.
Nice.
Yeah, and that was my entire life from like 2004 until 2014. I was so engulfed with paranormal research, and then I came out of retirement and did a quick investigation in 2016, but I haven't touched it since. That's something that I associate with my last marriage, and when she and I divorced, I just kind of decided to walk away from it. Well, my mother has a birthday coming up, and that's what she wants to do more than anything. And who am I to tell her no? So I'm gonna do it. I say I'm gonna do it one last time, but you never know. You never know when that bug is gonna bite me, and I go knee deep into the paranormal again. But people are like, what does this have to do with true crime or with what we normally talk about on this podcast? Well, for a very long time, when you dive into the history of this house, there have been murders there.
Oh, wow.
Over the years, it used to be a brothel in the late 1800s. There were murders there,
Right.
Man,
you don't get paid, you're going to get murdered.
If you can't treat a hooker right, what can you do? Right. But there was also a mother who drowned her children in this house.
Oh no!
In I'd say recent years. I think it might have been maybe the 70s or the 80s.
Wow!
But I was part of the group who stayed in this house for the very first time back in like 2006 or 2007. I can't remember. And since then, I mean, these people that own this house, I mean, they don't even have to rent it out anymore. They make a fairly decent amount of money off of paranormal investigators coming from all around the country to stay the night in this house. It's very active, one of the most active houses I ever stayed in. And we're gonna break Scott's cherry. We're gonna let him join us, and we're gonna
I'm looking forward to it.
see if we can get your spook on, man.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what kind of chairs fly across the room and stuff like that. So
Well, if it's anything that elaborate, I'm leaving.
right, the ghosts are gonna try to take us out.
Now it's pretty active. It's pretty active. I've told a lot of people over the years. They're like, hey, man, if I could stay in one place that you've been in, where I would definitely see something in the period of a night, where would it be? And I'm like, Hill House Manor, Gainesville, Texas.
Nice.
It has never let me down. I think I've stayed there like 3 or 4 times.
Oh
So
wow!
it's
Well,
never let me down.
we will be recording
Yes.
a podcast episode from that location on the night that we are there. And who knows what kind of audio enhancements or interference that we'll have.
Yeah, we'll interview Linda Hill, who is the owner of the house, thus the name Hill House Manor.
Right.
Because there's a lot of Hill houses in history.
Wasn't there a movie called The House on the Hill or
there
something
was
like that?
House on Haunted Hill. There was the Haunting of Hill House. There was the Haunting, which was Hill House.
Right.
And I want to say Haunting of Hill House Manor was the novel originally.
Okay.
And they named it The Haunting.
Mm-hmm.
It was an old black and white film. That one's really good. And then there was a remake in the 90s that had Catherine Zeta-Jones, I believe Liam Neeson, and Owen Wilson.
Oh wow!
And it was horrible. It was full of like 90s CGI, and it looked like ass.
Oh wow!
And then the Netflix series Haunting of Hill House came out about 5 years ago, I believe, 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And it's like a 10-episode series, and that's one of the best haunted house shows I've ever seen in my entire life. And I've seen pretty much all of them.
Yeah.
It was really good. It was Thanksgiving the first time I decided to sit down and watch that. And I said, okay, I'm only going to watch one episode, and then I'm going to go to Thanksgiving dinner with my family.
Oh, no.
And it was so good that I called my family and told them I was sick and couldn't make it.
Oh, wow.
And I binged all 10 episodes of that show that day.
That's awesome.
So sorry, you guys are just now hearing the truth of that. It's not like my family listens to this show though.
Right. So
and shit, what are you gonna do? That was like 2016. What are you gonna do? Spank me and take away my birthday?
Right.
Come on.
Well, your secret is safe with us and all of our
thousands
of listeners.
Thousands of listeners are not gonna get in touch with my parents and
they're not gonna call them up.
Nope.
All right.
Don't you freaking dare.
That episode will be coming out on the 7th of October.
Yes,
right in the middle.
October 7th.
October 7th, right in the middle of our break.
Unless we die in Hill House.
Yeah, unless we die. Well, and then we'll have to get somebody to posthumously put out the episode.
Yeah.
This is the point where Derick and Scott died.
Yeah.
The chair came flying across the room, hit one of them, bounced off the other one, hit the other one.
I haven't been in this house. I haven't been in this house in over a decade.
Oh, wow.
I don't know how much it's changed. I know they've done a lot of work to it. I don't know how much it's changed or what's changed, but I just know in the past it was a very active house.
Well, we will be taking as I said, we'll be taking the month of October off, except for this special episode, and we will look forward to seeing everybody in November with season 4.
Yes.
Again, we'll be sticking with the same format. We'll be highlighting cases of wrongful convictions, and hopefully we are trying to get into the habit of doing stories on people that we can actually talk to, so we can do an interview like we did with William Dillon.
Having fun with the microphone today.
You know what? This week, let's talk about a guy named Terance Calhoun.
Terance Calhoun.
Terance
I love
Calhoun.
that last name, Calhoun. Always
Calhoun.
makes me think of like a gangster from the 20s.
And look here, see?
Yeah, see, Mr. Calhoun, see, yeah.
Exactly. Well, we're going to be traveling to Detroit, Michigan.
Oh, speaking of
home of some
home of
gangsters.
Yeah, home of the gangsters. Detroit, Michigan. Let me tell you, is my history on this podcast, everyone knows that I've traveled abroad quite a bit, and I've been to Detroit probably about 30 or 40 times.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like once upon a time, it was a brilliant place. It was amazing.
Right.
And then it turned into the shell of its former self.
Yep.
And now I heard it's beginning to make a comeback.
Yeah.
So, you know what? I'm not going to talk trash on Detroit just because I don't want to discourage the progress. But I have stayed a few nights in Detroit where not only was it like 2 degrees and we were freezing, there's just like gunfire everywhere and shit on fire. And
Nice.
Detroit.
Well, I actually have been to Detroit a couple times, and I have some family that's right outside of Ann Arbor.
Okay.
And,
Ann Arbor.
Ann Arbor. So, but yeah, I enjoyed it up there. It's, I actually took my nephew to it just so happened that I was going to be traveling through there on my way to Canada, and the Texas Rangers happened to be in Detroit playing the Tigers.
Oh, nice.
So I took my nephew to a game at, Comerica Field, I think, up there?
No, I don't remember what it is.
Forget exactly what it is, but the stadium in Detroit, and we watched the Rangers and the Tigers play.
I've seen the Detroit Red Wings play in person quite a few times, but never in Detroit. It's always somewhere else. Like I saw him play in L.A., I saw him play in Dallas.
Is Detroit where they throw the octopuses on the ice?
Yeah, they throw the the squids on the ice. Yeah.
What the hell?
I don't know. I don't understand the meaning behind that. I know the Detroit Red Wings used to be quite the dynasty. Well, I guess late 90s, early 2000s.
Okay.
It is real. I mean, man, when those guys skated into town, just forget about it.
Yeah.
Your home team was going down that night.
Right. Well, we're going to be going back to the year 2006, but we can all take a breath. And a collective sigh of relief, as this story does not involve a murder.
Well,
I know.
What are we going to do?
Now, well, breathe in again as you prepare yourselves for the crimes at hand.
Yes, I said breathing crimes. In, I can smell 2006. It smells like Nickelback. Look at this photograph.
I don't know how, right. I don't know how
Every time I do it makes me laugh.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, before we get too far into the Nickelback lyrics and before we get into the details of the case, I do want to let you know right now that DNA once again saved the day and could have saved an innocent man 3 months into his sentence had the exculpatory results not been mysteriously filed away, hidden from the defense. Now, you may suspect official misconduct as the culprit, but there are a couple of other puzzling forces at play here, and I think more impactful. If you're already familiar with this case, you will have noticed my play on words that doubles as foreshadowing. If not, I'm sure your powers of detection will pick up on it promptly.
Yeah, do you think anybody has gained powers of detection from listening to the first 3 seasons of this podcast?
I would hope so, because we do a lot of detecting.
Now, like, let's say they're in a rest stop bathroom, and then suddenly the stranger in the stall next to him busts cheeks, and they're like, "Charla Woodruff?
Is that you, Charla?"
I could have swore I smelt your breath.
So anyways, I'm not going to spoon feed you this one. So if you get to the end and aren't sure what the hell we're referring to, take a second listen to the episode. Now, many of you may have the impression that Detroit, like most big cities, is a dangerous place with a lot of crime. So I'd like to take a moment to relieve you of your presumptions, but I can't.
No, you can't.
Detroit continues to be one of the most violent cities in the country per capita. The only city more dangerous than Detroit, can you guess?
St. Louis.
Close. It's Memphis, Tennessee.
Is it?
It is.
Oh man, they must in the last couple of years they must have swapped.
Well,
but I do get it.
St. Louis is a good guess.
I do understand Memphis. I've been to Memphis a lot, not just for work, but for pleasure as well, because I went to Graceland. But yes, Memphis, just God bless, just driving through Memphis, is scary. It's just it looks like some Walking Dead shit.
Well, I will tell you that I'll tell a real quick story here. The one and only time I've ever been to Tennessee, I drove a friend he was getting divorced and his ex-wife had moved to Tennessee from Dallas. And I drove with a friend. I didn't drive in there, but we drove with a friend to go see his son. And I will say, once we hit Tennessee, I had the worst experience. Like, I got pulled over. We stopped at a rest stop, almost got in a fight. When I got to the apartment complex of his ex-wife, they tried to tow my car with no signage. Like, I mean, it was like the whole time that I was in Tennessee, it's like time after time after time, people were just assholes.
It's rough,
and
man.
I was like, I swore when I left there, I was like, I am never coming back to Tennessee.
I mean, other than the whole Elvis thing, it's, I heard stories from guys who grew up in Memphis, and they were alive. They were little kids back when Elvis was alive, and from the locals, they'll tell you stories about Elvis that you don't get in any of the films or books or bios or anything like that. Like Elvis used to sit on his front porch with a BB gun, and little kids would hop up on the wall in front of Graceland and like walk it, and he would shoot at them with BB guns.
Oh wow!
But the little kids would do it on purpose just so he would shoot at them.
That's crazy.
Yeah, my eye. You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
All right. Well, was Memphis, Tennessee the answer that you expected?
It was not. I was expecting St. Louis.
I was going to say maybe you thought it would be Chicago or Los Angeles, New York City. I guess it all comes down to what stories make the biggest news splash or where Hollywood sets its locations for action movies and detective shows most frequently. Now, in any case, I'm sure Detroit has earned its reputation for danger. Now, I told you this story wasn't about murder, which is at least a better outcome than most of the victims in this season have endured so far.
Right.
Unfortunately, 2 teenage girls whose lives were forever altered. These cases are about assault, a deadly weapon, and rape. Since the 1960s in Detroit, sexual assaults have been on the rise, ranging from over 1,000 per year in the beginning of that decade to almost 3,000 over the course of 1969. Of course, all those statistics only include attacks that were reported. It's difficult to imagine how much higher the numbers actually were, since many of the women were too ashamed or scared to go to the police. Fast forward to the 21st century, and many women still don't come forward. But surely, policing efforts have improved to the point of getting this violent crime against women under some type of control by now. I mean, didn't Governor Abbott of Texas recently say that he would, quote, eliminate rape in response to his draconian abortion ban, which makes no exception for rape or incest?
That's a big promise from a guy who's like paralyzed from the waist down and can't rape anyone.
Gee, dumbass. Pardon me. I mean, Governor Abbott.
Governor asshat.
Exactly. If you know how to eliminate rape, please share your wisdom with the rest of the country.
Well, you defeat rape with the power of Christ, my friend.
Oh, God.
That's how they do it in the capital,
right?
In Texas,
rape never happens in the church.
Yeah, rape never happened in the Bible,
right?
Rape never happens in church.
So, what's that, Governor?
Sorry, I'm not trying to make fun of rape. I go all the way back to the beginning of this episode when we were talking about novels. When I wrote my first fiction novel, there was a line in the last chapter where the main character had his daughter had moved to Austin for college, and he asks, how's college? And she's like, it's fine, Daddy. I only got raped 3 times today.
Oh, God.
And my editor blew up. They're like, absolutely not, sir. You're not putting that line in this book. So I don't know what it says now.
Wow.
But the character didn't get raped 3 times. That's for sure.
Yeah, right. Well, let's zero in on the timeline for the crimes we are covering this week. In the 2000s, Detroit opened the century with 5,025 rapes and ended the first decade of the new millennium with a slight downtick of only 4,524.
Yeah, they have that trophy on display at City Hall.
Right. We've gone down by 500. But before Detroit statistics would take a dip, we have to go back to the year 2006, in which the city of over 10 million citizens suffered more than 5,200 sexual assaults.
God, that's crazy.
Let that sink in. In a single year, there were more than 5,200 attacks in Detroit alone. 2 of those cases tragically impacted the life and freedom of an innocent man. The date of the first attack was September 26, 2006. It was a crisp fall day in Detroit when, at the corner of Fenkell Avenue and Blackstone Street, a 15-year-old girl was assaulted but not raped. As traumatized as she must have been, she was able to provide a couple of details about the description of her attacker. She said that his hair was braided and he had a puzzle tattoo on his arm. I've always thought it's pretty stupid to label oneself with obvious ways to be identified if you have any inclination to commit a crime of any kind.
Do you remember when those shoes were really popular that when you stepped down, they would there would be like a flash?
Yeah.
I remember watching a Cops episode where the cops were chasing a guy through the city streets of somewhere. And at night, and he just happened to be wearing those damn light up shoes.
That's hilarious.
And like, there was no way he was going to get away from him because,
Right.
I mean, it was like he had his own light bar.
Right. It's follow me this way. And he's obviously a criminal, so he's not smart enough to just take his shoes off.
Poor freaking idiot.
That's hilarious. I mean, you can't help it if you have a visible birthmark or memorable heterochromatic eyes, for example. But you may as well tattoo an arrow on your forehead pointing to yourself as the guilty party unless you're relying on your victim's inability to remember any distinctive details about you, or you have nefarious plans to tie up those loose ends permanently.
Well, then you put a big arrow on your forehead and then you're going to get sued for copyright infringement of claiming you're the last airbender.
Right. Exactly. Seems like an unnecessary risk to me. In this case, a distinctive puzzle tattoo should assist the police in identifying the perp and help them exclude anyone without such a tattoo, in theory.
Sure.
The date of the second crime was 1 month later, on October 27th. It was a perceptibly colder day just down the street from the first attack at the intersection of Fenkell Avenue and Patton Street, that set the stage for the sexual assault, this time of a 13-year-old girl.
No, none of this is happening on 8 Mile Road.
No.
All right.
Surprisingly
Eminem,
not.
shut the hell up. It's not that bad.
It's not that bad. At least not for this.
It's really not. I've driven down 8 Mile Road countless times, and I'm like, what in the hell was Marshall Mathers bitching about? This is not that bad.
Well, isn't 8 Mile where, like, isn't that where it separates, like, the good area on one side and the bad area on the other side? I thought that was...
There's no such thing.
There isn't. Okay.
As a good area or a bad area in Detroit. But the streets are like that. There's like 13 Mile Road, 12 Mile Road, and it just continues to go and is 8 Mile Road. And I'm like, I didn't have anything to do on that road, but I'm like, I'm just going to drive down here and see what all the hype is about. And Eminem knows that most people aren't going to jump in their car and drive to Detroit and check it out for themselves. I think he's full of shit.
Right.
Hi, this is Marshall Mathers, and I was listening to your podcast, and I heard that you were talking about me, and you were talking about Detroit, and I don't really appreciate it.
Well, if Marshall Mathers is listening to our podcast, I'd be very honored.
Yeah, I would be very
surprised.
I jest at Eminem, but
Right.
that is a very talented man.
How dare you talk about the Slim
He
Shady.
has I know he has my utmost respect for everything he has accomplished. I'm not gonna lie, when he first hit the scene, I'm like, what kind of a freaking joke is this? But man, let me tell you, just over the years, he has entertained the hell out of me and millions of others. And congratulations, man! Congratulations for breaking in to the rap world,
Right.
being the whitest of white guys.
Right.
He's almost. Man, he's almost transparent. He's so white. And
Right. Well, I had a friend over last night that listens to rap. And, whenever he comes over, we pretty much listen to hip hop exclusively because that's what he likes. It's interesting. Last night, he actually started playing some some old like kind of freestyle from Eminem.
Really?
And I was like, wow, like he can actually like freestyle, not just write lyrics, but he can actually like. I always respect people that can make like I'm not a huge fan of hip hop or rap or whatever, but those people that can sit there and just make up lyrics that, you know, like on the fly to a beat, like they got all my respect.
The only bad thing about him is, in my opinion, the sex scene between him and Brittany Murphy is the worst sex scene in cinematic history.
Oh, geez. Even worse than the puppet sex in Team America?
Even worse than the puppet sex in Team America. It's just so bad. And just, you know, he's like in a machine shop and everything's covered in grease. And I'm like, I can't blame him. I blame Brittany Murphy's character.
Right.
How dare you for not having any morals whatsoever? And God rest her soul too. So,
all right. Well, back to the story. The girl was raped at gunpoint in an alley. She told police that the attacker used a condom, which was found at the scene.
what?
I know that seems interesting to me. Like you're attacking some girl,
Yeah.
and you're like, "Hold on, just a second. I need to put a condom on."
Wait up, girl. Hold on. Look, I'm doing this for you.
I'm doing this for you. Again, if the girl's attacker is Puzzle Tattoo Guy, not only is he stupid enough to label himself with an identifying mark, but he's also stupid enough to leave behind a penis-shaped balloon of his DNA.
Yeah, he's bagging up the DNA for you.
I gotta say, except for the proximity of the two attacks, there seem to be inconsistencies with the MOs of the two incidents. Anyway, the condom was swabbed and the evidence was sent to Reliagene Laboratory for DNA testing. So far, so good. The investigators seem to have leads in both cases that could be useful. Now, I'm sure you're aware that the police often use sketch artists to create a likeness of a perpetrator from eyewitness descriptions. There's even a computerized system now called PhotoFit, which stores hundreds of variations of facial features in a database to assist sketch artists in the likenesses they produce. A facial composite is a representation of one or more witnesses' memories of a face as assembled by a composite artist. Unfortunately, police sketches don't have a high rate of accuracy. One estimate suggests that there is only a 9% success rate derived from these likenesses. They really shouldn't be thought of as actual evidence, but merely a tool used by investigators to see where it may lead. I shared this mini lesson with you because a composite sketch was created in this case based on the descriptions given by the two victims and circulated within the police department. A week after the second attack at 12 noon on November 3rd, 19-year-old Terance Calhoun went to a liquor store to buy lottery tickets. A police officer noticed him, thought he resembled the composite sketch, and took him into custody. How did that conversation go, I wonder? Police officer, sir, you look like the guy in this sketch that I have here. Terrence, okay. Police officer, sir, you'll have to come with me. You're under arrest. Sounds about right. Oh, and did I forget to mention, Terrence has cognitive deficits. Just want to put that information out there just in case we need it later.
What the hell was a cop doing hanging out while he's on duty in a liquor store?
Well, you know, they got to have lottery tickets too.
I guess so. I guess so.
So they can win the lottery and quit their miserable job.
Like I've never been a lottery guy. My son is 7-year-old. My stepson is 7-year-old, and the other side of his family just happens to be, some old money Texas millionaire type people with the big ranch and
right.
all that. And his view of money from their side of his family is completely different from ours. And he asked me the other day, he's like, when we go to the store, can we buy some lottery tickets? Sure, no problem. So I bought him a couple of scratch-off tickets, and we got home. And I guess his understanding of lottery tickets, I just tapped my head like everybody out there can see me. His understanding of lottery tickets was every ticket is a winner. Like if he bought the ticket, that meant he was going to be rich.
Oh, really?
Yes. And when he scratched them off and realized that he didn't win a damn thing, I'm like, Lesson learned, kid. Welcome to life.
Right. Thanks for donating to all those people
Yes.
that did win.
Yes, thank you for donating to our governor, Greg Abbott.
Right.
Who
Governor
will-
Asshat.
Yes, who will use that money to strip away women's rights.
And eliminate rape.
Yes, and eliminate rape with his with
our air quotes.
yes, his inanimated pelvic thrusts that he can't do.
The Sixth Amendment of the United States Constitution guarantees all defendants the right to a fair trial by a jury of their impartial peers. Do you have a loved one that was convicted and is now in prison? Are you frustrated with the appeals process? Did you know that sometimes people lie to get on a jury? This is a felony and can be appealed by the defendant. The Conviction Integrity Group investigates these jurors, along with their friends and family. Go to www.juryintegrity.com to find out more. Guilt or innocence doesn't matter. Everyone deserves a fair trial. Everyone. Go to www.juryintegrity.com to find out more.
He
All
could
right,
not do the
so-
time warp.
Oh,
I know.
That I just
Wait,
yeah,
Dr.
that
Scott did it
sucks.
though. Dr. Scott was in a wheelchair and he did it.
That's right.
Oh, there's hope for him yet.
That's right.
Greg Abbott, if you're listening, first of all, fuck you. Second of all,
We want to see you do the time warp
we want to see you do the time warp
again.
again.
Let's all do the time warp. No, I'm just kidding. It's an audio podcast.
Well,
they
it's
wouldn't
just
be
a
able
jump to the left.
Well, it's a step to the right. You bring your knees in tight.
Yeah, it's the pelvic thrust that really drives them insane. Yang.
Anyways, where were we? Oh, yes. Terrence was in custody at this point. Detective Robert Kane was on the case. 3 hours after he was brought in for questioning, Terrence reportedly signed a statement confessing to both attacks, even though he did not match the witnesses' descriptions.
People, stop doing that.
I know. Every single time it seems like we're just like covering these cases of false confession. His hair was not braided, and he did not have a puzzle tattoo. I guess one could argue that he cut his braids off, but where did that pesky tattoo wander off to?
They solved it.
That's right. Like, why do we concern ourselves with details like tattoos and stuff? We solved the case.
That's it. It's like
The
a
guy
Rubik-
confessed.
Well, his puzzle piece was like a Rubik's Cube.
Oh. So they just threw it away once he solved it.
Screw
Okay.
it.
5 hours after that, both victims participated in a photographic lineup and identified, or should I say misidentified, oops, dang, forgot to say spoiler alert,
Oh, damn.
Terrence as the attacker. Just keep in mind, these photographic lineups can be inherently unreliable, especially if the guidelines for their use are not strictly followed. For example, it wouldn't be a good lineup if there weren't enough photos in the mix or if each person in each photo didn't look similar to the suspect. That's like having 5 white guys and a black guy. Which one is it?
Hey, sir, could you put this condom on and take it off and throw it on the ground for us?
It's also
This
why.
This is a lineup of condoms.
Which
the
condom
lineup.
is it
Yes.
that you
Can you identify this
recognize?
condom, ma'am?
It's also wise to put your suspect in more than one photographic lineup just to be certain you're getting an accurate ID. Later that day, Terrence signed a consent form that allowed his DNA to be gathered for testing. This should be a helpful development for an innocent man, right? Well, on November 5th, just 2 days after he was, quote, recognized from the composite sketch and brought in for questioning, Terrence was arraigned on 4 charges: criminal sexual conduct, kidnapping, attempted kidnapping, and felony firearm possession. After a court-ordered forensic examination, Terrence was found to have cognitive deficiencies, but was deemed legally competent to stand trial by the Center for Forensic Psychiatry in February of 2007. As it turned out, on the day the forensic report was issued, Terrence entered a plea of no contest. For those of you who may be unfamiliar with the term, no contest literally means that the defendant will not contest the charges they are facing. The assumption here was that the prosecution had enough evidence to convict. While it is not an admission of guilt, this plea waives the right to a trial and allows the court to proceed with sentencing as if the defendant was guilty. To sum it all up, Terrence wasn't admitting he was guilty, but the court can punish him for being guilty without the benefit of a trial. This seems as convoluted a legal strategy as Marjorie Taylor Greene taking the witness stand in a head full of fake amnesia.
Wow.
I guess the logic is that sometimes a defendant is better off not facing a jury if he or she doesn't like his or her chances, even if he or she is innocent. And if you're a subscriber who tunes in every week, you know what a risk even the most well-intentioned jury can be.
An exoneration hearing is going to be held again today for a man convicted for someone else's crime. 35-year-old Terance Calhoun was supposed to be released from prison on Friday. However, a judge put the case on hold after being handed a binder by a Detroit police officer who claimed that the judge needed to look at the evidence again. Calhoun was accused of sexually assaulting a teen girl and attempting to kidnap another girl near a Detroit liquor store all the way back in 2006. He's already served 15 years in prison, though DNA evidence indicated the crimes were committed by another man.
Sentencing went as follows. Regarding the first attack in September on the charge of attempted kidnapping, Terrence was sentenced to 11 months to 5 years in prison. For the second attack in October on the charges of criminal sexual conduct, kidnapping, and felony firearm possession, he was sentenced to 15 to 30 years to be served concurrently with the first sentence. After an additional 2 years was added to the firearm charge, the final tally was 17 to 32 years behind bars. Honestly, if they had the right guy, I think the sentence was a little too light, especially when taking into account the growing rate of assaults in Detroit overall. But I do appreciate that the gun from the second attack earned a more serious sentence. It's definitely time we come down harder on gun violence, don't you think?
I do. Agreed. 100%. And we being from Texas, that's really, really big in the news here right now.
Oh, yeah.
Now, granted, our government gives two shits and a shard about it, but the people sure as hell
The people
do,
care, but
especially the people of Uvalde, Texas right now.
Oh, yeah. But then again, they do have the wrong guy here, so there's that. 9 months after the attack on June 15th, 2007, the DNA results taken from the condom came back from Relia Jean. Terrence was not a match.
Well, then.
So, who received the report? Who indeed? It was sent to the Detroit Police Department Forensic Sciences Department, where it remained untouched and unnoticed for more than 10 years.
Well, they've been busy.
And I mean, in the meantime, in September of 2007, Terrence decided to dismiss an appeal he had filed because of a, quote, lack of merit, unaware of the misplaced exculpatory evidence that could set him free. Fast forward roughly 11 and a half years, on January of 2019, during the course of a, quote, sexual assault kit review, a prosecutor began to look into Terrence's case. He found the DNA results and forwarded them to the Estate Appellate Defender Office, or the SADO, S-A-D-O.
Oh, that sounded like someone who beat your ass with the karate. Sado.
I get your SADO.
Oh, that's probably very racist of me saying it like that.
An attorney for SADO by the name of Michael Mittelstadt ordered additional DNA testing of the condom to be done by Bode Technology.
Bode. It sounds like he's a surfer.
What's up, Bode?
That's not racist. That's just like regionalist, I guess. I don't know, brah.
You're like, you're relegating the surfer community, man.
Right. Sean Penn.
Hang 10, man. All right. Anyways, 9 months later, a baby was born. I mean, the results were in, confirming the 2007 results by Reliagene. Could this have been the year that Terrence was set free? Of course not.
I was thinking no.
What kind of slowpoke justice system do you think we've got here? I'll tell you. The slow kind.
The Detroit kind.
Another 3 years later, on January 10th of 2022, that's this year, folks.
Yes.
In case you haven't gotten used to writing 2022 on your checks yet. Oh, wait. Who even writes checks anymore?
Probably someone's grandma.
Right. Anyway, the Michigan State Police found that a search of the FBI DNA database linked the DNA test results from the condom to a man who was, quote, currently charged with other sexual assault offenses in the Detroit area that are alleged to have occurred between 2007 and 2014. I just want to scream right about now. An innocent man went to prison for 15 years. 2 young, brave victims who made the difficult choice to come forward did not get justice. The 2 assaults in 2006. And who's to say the attacker didn't start before 2006 or if any number of his attacks went unreported? Just how many assaults could have been prevented if a few key elements had gone a different way? Terrence didn't match the physical description. He did not have braided hair and he didn't have a puzzle tattoo. Why did that not exclude him as a suspect? And what if the DNA didn't get filed away in a bureaucratic pile of doom? Terrence would have been released within days, or at most a few months instead of years. Ah, man, I'm just spiraling right now, folks. Deep breath. Let's try to get back on track.
I'm one of those people that's never really quite understood rape as a crime. I know that there are probably just some men running around out there like a bunch of freaking animals that are just like, and they just got to chase something down and attack it. I've never been that. I never understood that.
Yeah. I would not want to have sex with somebody that doesn't want to have sex with me. Like, that's just
right. Well, guys like you and I mean, we've never had that. Everybody's wanted to have sex with us. We've never been turned down like that.
I mean, supermodels that we are.
Yeah, I know, but I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Just the chase, the struggle, the fight, and then you're still able to perform.
Yeah,
it's very caveman.
Yeah,
and I've never understood it. Never.
Yeah.
How could you want to put that much like trauma and pain onto someone else?
Well, I think it just goes back to that whole, we're trying to put a sane mind into an insane crime.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't understand how somebody could murder somebody because I don't have an insane psychotic mind.
Oh no, I get that.
But
I get that. I get that completely. I meet people every day
Like,
that I would love to just chop their head off. I get that all the way, 100%. To all the murderers out there who listen to us, I'm with you, baby. The rapist, screw you. Can't do it.
I mean, let's be honest. There are some people that just deserve to be murdered.
Some people that deserve it.
All right. So anyways, let's enter the Conviction Integrity Unit, or the CIU, and the Cooley Innocence Project at Western Michigan University. Working together on a grant-funded DNA project, they reviewed the DNA results. Get ready to hear about how actual investigative work is supposed to go. CIU lawyer Valerie Newman's job is to canvass cases with a probability of wrongful imprisonment.
Newman?
Wow, that's a much-needed step in the right direction, don't you think? Ms. Newman had discovered several flaws in Terrance's case, including the DNA report that showed Terrence was not a match. Including that, not as if that's not enough.
He might not have been a match, but he was lit. But
The CIU also knew about the description of the assailant from the victim of the first crime, the braids and the puzzle tattoo, and there was no DNA in that case that could be tested. What to do? Oh, I know. Find a guy you think matches the sometimes unreliable composite sketch. No, wait, been there, done that. The CIU, in all their wisdom, decided to conduct a national search of law enforcement databases. Believe it or not, the search, quote, turned up only one individual with a puzzle tattoo on his arm. That individual is currently incarcerated in the Michigan Department of Corrections of sexual assault convictions, unquote. Wow. It's like finding a one-of-a-kind needle in a freaking law enforcement database haystack that's just sitting around looking pretty, waiting to be of use until some dirtbag commits a crime or something. Serious kudos to the CIU. I just wish that kind of effort had been put into the case from the beginning. So now that we have a DNA match from the second attack and a solid physical match from the first attack, all of which means that two different men committed each of those crimes, which might explain why the composite sketch didn't work. The victims were each describing a different attacker, and the police artist was combining those descriptions into one sketch. Maybe the police should be trained not to jump to conclusions when trying to determine if two cases are linked. Anyway, one attacker was a serial rapist facing charges, and the other was already in prison for unrelated sexual assaults of his own. Sidebar here, this seems like a first to me. One man, Terrence, was wrongfully convicted for the crimes of two different men. How often does that happen? I would hope not too often, but I'm not holding my breath.
I don't think that's happened with anyone we've covered.
Not anyone we've covered yet, but
this podcast.
It's interesting though. You're not only are you wrongfully accused, but you're wrongfully accused of crimes that two different people did. So weird.
Yes. The Michigan State Police were having a 2-for-1 sale.
Right. He got the old twofer. Anyway, 2 crimes, 2 assailants in custody. Looking good, right? Any day now, Terrence should be a free man. Any day. Literally, any day will do. Rainy days, Mondays, hump days, TGI Fridays. It's all good. Honestly, Terrence was just in a bit of a hurry. For him, time is, well, freedom, to paraphrase an old quote.
From a distance, our Fox 2 camera rolled as Terance Calhoun tasted freedom for the first time in 15 years. Moments earlier, a judge exonerated Calhoun, who was wrongfully convicted of 2 sexual assaults in Detroit during 2006 and 2007. We spoke to his family before the emotional reunion.
It finally happened. I knew he was innocent from the start.
Calhoun's mom couldn't fight back tears on this bittersweet day. In court Wednesday, we learned DNA evidence collected 3 months after the 2007 sex assault case revealed Calhoun was innocent then, but that evidence was withheld from Calhoun's attorneys. It resurfaced more than a decade later. Outside the prison, one of Calhoun's former cellmates came to greet him with a shirt proclaiming innocence.
He always said, I didn't do it. And it's a blessing to be here to actually see him and get exonerated for a case that he didn't do.
Terance Calhoun was supposed to be released last week, but a Detroit police officer made an unprecedented move by presenting evidence to a judge to delay the release. The investigators' actions were condemned by DPD Chief James White and the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office.
It was very important that was said, and I really am thankful that Ms. Newman said that. It was unfortunate what went on last week.
During Calhoun's release, he was met by a new family, a brotherhood called the Organization of Exonerees, other wrongfully convicted men from Michigan who help each other adjust to life on the outside.
Mr. Calhoun is going to need everything. He's going to need to rebuild his life, and it's really going to take a whole community in order to do that, and that's why we're here.
Terance Calhoun's attorney said Calhoun requested Arby's as his first meal out of prison. He plans to move to Tennessee with his family. Brandon Hudson, Fox 2 News.
When were we? Let's see, January of this year, right. Well, on April 22nd of this year, again, I'm just trying to emphasize the fact that wrongful convictions are a current and ongoing problem that isn't going to magically go away even with the advent of DNA testing. There's only so much DNA can do by itself. As you have seen, and we all know how difficult it is for some people to trust and understand science, even when it's in their own best interests, but I digress. So on April 22nd of 2022, CIU Director Valerie Newman, Sato attorney Michael Mittelstadt, and Cooley Innocence Project attorney David Williams appeared in front of Wayne County Circuit Court Judge Kelly Ramsey with a motion to vacate both convictions and dismiss the cases. It looked like Terrance's, quote, rainy day, Monday, hump day, TGI Friday, literally any day will do, was at hand. Or was it? I know. Let's all roll our eyes and groan in unison, shall we? At the penultimate moment, right before the decision was to be made, Detective Kane from the original 2006 investigation told Judge Ramsey he had some, quote, new evidence that would prove Terrance's guilt. In the interest of justice, the dismissal was reluctantly postponed until April 27th. I don't know about you, but I'm certainly curious to find out what this, quote, new evidence is. Maybe Terrence has a puzzle tattoo where the sun don't shine, and that was heretofore undisclosed even to the National Law Enforcement Database. I mean, crazier things have happened, I guess.
Well, they found a sandwich bag at the crime scene. He ran out of condoms, and yellow and blue make green.
Deposited some DNA in the sandwich bag.
Right.
I don't want to think about that. Anyways, Judge Ramsey agreed to meet with Detective Kane. He gave her a binder of information and told the judge, quote, Judge, you've got to look at this before you dismiss the case. You have to look at this evidence here. She referred Detective Kane to the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office without reviewing the documents herself. I guess she wasn't as curious as me. Or maybe she had faith in the DNA report and the fact that the puzzle tattoo guy was in custody. On April 27th of 2022, court was reconvened with all parties present. The entire case and all of the evidence was once again reviewed. Nothing Detective Kane had in the binder was anything new. It appeared that he was only attempting to derail the case. Terrence was on the verge of sweet, sweet freedom. No tricks this time. And dear listeners, at the end of this hearing, Judge Ramsey vacated the convictions and dismissed both cases against Terrence. He had served 15 years in prison for a crime that he did not commit. When he was set free, he just smiled as the judge wished him good luck. Upon his release, Terrence was surrounded by family and members of the organization of exonerees who planned to help him adjust to his new life. Safe in his family's loving embrace, 35-year-old Terrence said he planned to start his new life with them in Tennessee. He requested Arby's as his first meal out of prison. Man,
Poor guy.
The things we all take for granted. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
So score another point for hero DNA, and if you're keeping track, you can blame mistaken witness ID and a false confession for this wrongful conviction. We should also throw in a whiff of official misconduct, wouldn't you say? And a dash of some mishandling of DNA evidence. But maybe the DNA snafu can be attributed to simple understaffing and a series of unfortunate, albeit tragic, events that led to the misplacement of key evidence. Still unforgivable, in my humble opinion. But it's worth noting that the victims can rest easier knowing their assailants are behind bars, even if only for crimes committed against other women. I do love it when the victims find justice in our legal system. Nobody summed this case up better than Sato attorney Michael Mittelstadt when he said, quote, if there's one thing about the system people need to realize, it's that innocent people plead, and eyewitness misidentifications are real and false confessions are real. People need to understand that witness identifications can be faulty and have been proven to be faulty. They are not as reliable as lay people and many people outside of the criminal justice system believe. End quote. One more thing. Was anyone curious about that no contest plea that Terrence entered into? If you remember, I felt it was a little crazy to say, I'm not guilty, but you can sentence me as if I am. I still can't get that out of my mind. Well, it turns out that there are a few lines of thinking that might lead a lawyer to suggest this plea to their client. Number one, the no contest plea eliminates a long, expensive trial. Number 2, it offers protection against any potential civil lawsuit since you will not have been proven guilty in a trial and you haven't admitted to being guilty in the first place. And number 3, your attorney can negotiate with prosecutors to get you a lesser sentence. And finally, number 4, you can maintain a modicum of privacy without the embarrassment of a public hearing. Okay, I guess I can see a little bit of logic to the no contest plea in some circumstances, but the team working to free Terrence were unable to understand why his attorney, Ilsa Drasnin, had him plead as he did. As Miss Drasnin is now deceased and thus obviously can't explain herself, the conclusion the team reached in their report will have to suffice. Quote, police failed to consider Mr. Calhoun's intellectual limitations. Neither a lawyer nor his parents were present when he gave what police claimed were incriminating statements, and his interrogation was not recorded. End quote. Ah, there's that whiff of official misconduct wafting in again. Can you smell it?
I don't think that's what I'm smelling.
Oh, and let's not forget the small issue of compensation. You know how I love to do the math when a wrongfully convicted person sues for damages. Well, this one, sadly, should be simple because Michigan has a set payout all figured out. Terrence will not get millions, as other wrongfully convicted people have. Michigan laws state that the monetary compensation for wrongful convictions may not exceed $50,000 per year of imprisonment. That would bring Terrence's award to a mere $750,000 max. Michigan should be ashamed of itself. It remains unknown if he will pursue a settlement at this time. It's literally too early to tell. Let the man get settled in and eat his Arby's first.
Yeah, or maybe they could go into the evidence room and sell all that cocaine that they got from Tim Allen back in the late 80s.
Right. Oh,
That's
man.
a thing, people, by the way. Tim Allen, Tim the Toolman Taylor, Home Improvement. That guy. Yeah, right before he became famous, he was in prison for like cocaine trafficking.
Yeah.
Google, it's free and in your pocket.
Yep. All right. Do we have any parting thoughts here, C. Derick?
I'll never understand a rapist. Never. Not that I don't believe I've ever met a rapist. Although I'm sure that people just don't put that on their resume.
Yeah, statistically, you probably have at some point in your life.
Probably have at some point. Oh, well, it says here you're a rapist. Congratulations, you're hired.
I mean, you are from Greenville. So.
Yeah. Oh, God, cue the banjos.
Dun, dun.
Seriously, though, it's just something I've never understood. I don't get it. But apparently there's quite a few of them running around in the city of Detroit.
Yeah.
So if you
Thousands.
ever needed a reason not to go there, other than the
There it is.
literally millions of reasons that the media has shown us year after year, there you go. It's Michigan, come for the lakes, stay for the rapes. I don't know what their motto is.
I don't know if they're going to put you in charge of their PR campaign.
I don't think they are. What is it? Pure Michigan. That's
Is that what it is?
Pure Michigan. Just
Oh,
like
wow.
Tim Allen's cocaine.
Pure
cocaine from pure Michigan.
Well, it's better than Missouri.
Oh, what's
The show me state.
Oh yeah.
I always wondered about that. Like, what are you showing me?
Yeah. I don't believe you. Show me.
Show me. Anyways, well, I think that it's obviously very tragic what happened to Mr. Calhoun, but I do hope that he's able to, I mean, he was in prison for 15 plus years. He deserves to never have to work again, but anyway, so I hope it works out for him. It was a pleasure and an honor telling his story. And I guess we'll find out next week what the new story will be.
Yeah. I mean, the state of Michigan should just start cutting off wieners, man. It works on Game of Thrones. And there's an Arby's connection there. They have the meats.
Oh, there you go.
Didn't think I could bring that one back around, did you?
I like it.
Mhm.
I like it. All right. Well, until next time, America. What was that? Maury Povich, I think.
Oh.
There was an old show that he hosted. And his tagline, until next time, America. What was that show?
Oh my God.
It was like a tabloid show, kind of like Entertainment Tonight or something. But we'll have to look it up.
I don't remember.
We'll tell everybody
the only
week.
thing I know about him is you are not the father.
You are not the father.
That's the only thing I know about his show.
Yeah, we'll have to look it up and let everybody know, or everybody can tell us in the comments.
Yes, Google. It's free and in your pocket.
That's right. All right. Well, remember to stay aware,
stay strong,
and for God's sakes, get involved.
The American Justice Podcast is owned and copyrighted by Atua Productions, LLC of Dallas, Texas. Your hosts are Scott Pogensey and C. Derick Miller. Atua Productions aims for this to be an interactive podcast where you, the audience, has a great amount of influence on the content of our shows. You can interact with us in several ways. First and most preferred is you can leave us a voicemail. Our phone number is 972-942-0444. Be sure to leave your name and city you're calling from, along with whether or not we can use your voice on the air. If Facebook is more your style, you can log on to our Facebook page at facebook.com/American Justice Podcast. Feel free to leave a comment, or you can message us on Messenger if you have a more pressing question or issue. If you'd like to blog about the show, you can log on to AmericanJusticePodcast.com and let us know what you think there. If you're a tweeter, you can also voice your opinion on Twitter at @AJusticePodcast. We would very much appreciate it if you could give us a 5-star review on all the podcast streaming platforms.